Hello and thanks for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Danit-Boy. There are 94 days to the 2019 election in Nigeria. As the polls draw nearer, we'll always be here to give you in-depth analysis of events shaping the polity. Today on the program, 1,891 killed in 5 local government areas in recent Plateau attacks, as Oshibajo insists on state police. Obasanjo accuses state governors of stealing funds through joint accounts operated by the 2 tiers of government. And later on the show, presidency, Atiku exchange words over search of former vice president's private jet. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Mayor Akimpelu, and Olayinka Oyegbile. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, it appears Plateau State has paid dearly for the breach of the peace in the North Central in recent times. A 7-man committee set up by Plateau Governor Simon Lalong to work out modalities for safe return of internally displaced persons has come out with grave figures of casualties. The report indicates that 1,891 persons lost their lives in 5 local government areas, while 50,212 people have been displaced from their homes in 118 communities. To stem this negative tide, Vice President Yemi Oshibajo has reiterated his call for the creation of state police. He pointed out that federal police will remain, but for other duties including border security, elections and check smuggling. Is Nigeria ripe for state policing, Jide?
Well, I've always been cautious about this matter. When you look back at the events of the First Republic, and you also bear in mind the way governors are currently even abusing the opportunities that they have, you ask yourself, what would they do if they have more powers, more coercive powers? There's a little governor in northern Nigeria who even delights in sending lawyers, activist lawyers and journalists to prison, just using his position. You also know how governors misuse the State Independent Electoral Commission. I wonder why they still add the word independent to SEC, because there's nothing independent about those state electoral commissions. Governors do what they like with them, and the opposition cannot win. Where the opposition manages to win, sometimes it is because the alternative is bloodletting of the extreme hue. So you are bound to be worried that have we attained that level of maturity as a nation, as a people, and the politicians that we have today, have they attained that level of maturity for us to have state police? I would like to take the viewers back to what happened during the First Republic when we had the Native Authority Police. I've done a bit of research to show, especially in northern Nigeria, because in northern Nigeria, the Native Authority Police was grossly abused by the ruling MPC at the time. We had people like Babadana Gundi, who later became traditional ruler, Serikin Daki Metuta. He was, along with others like Lili Gambari, Lawan Dambazao, Alimbuka Makoda, Muhammadu Abubakar Rimi, Aminu Kano himself, and Lawan Dambazao, they had their heads shaved with broken bottles. And at the end of the day, it was the Ironsi coup that actually saved people like Lili Gabari from death because he had been sentenced to death based on trumped-up charges. And at that time, close to the Emir's palace, you have the courts. So if the Emir is not happy with you, you will be tried right there in his premises, and you'll be sentenced, you'll be sent to jail near the palace of the Emir. At that time, opposition parties could hardly breathe because whatever you said, if it embarrassed the ruling government, you'll be thoroughly dealt with. I once told the story of how even Josiah Olawoyin, who later worked in Kwara with the UPN, was the leader of the UPN in Kwara, how he was stripped to his underwear and was being flogged around the streets of Ilorin. This was a story that was told to me by the old man himself, because my mother's auntie, Victoria Ayedogbon, was his friend, and Olawoyin used to come to our house in Ilorin. So the opposition suffered in the hands of the native authority police because the government of the day and the emirs at that time who were working with the government of the day did not want to stomach any form of aberrant behavior, in inverted commas, by the opposition. So at this stage, how are we sure that the current crop of politicians will have the maturity to know that in a democracy, the opposition deserves its voice? That are we sure that given the way that even SIEC, as we have seen, has been abused by state governors, that they will not abuse the privilege of being in charge of police in their respective states? I appreciate how the vice president feels. In fact, at a point, he even said that smuggling, that police, the federal police should be in charge of smuggling. He was quoted as saying that if the federal police is in charge of stopping smuggling, what would be the job of the customs? Yes. So, but the truth is, we know that the police is overstretched. They don't have the funds to function effectively. But we have to find a way, to solve that problem. But I'm particularly worried about how the possibility of state police being abused.
All right, but Mayor, we have a situation in our hands. About 1,900 people were killed in this case in Jos. And looking at the situation, one would want to say that perhaps a state security might do the job.
I believe that Nigeria is ripe for state police. And the reason is that every politics is local. Yeah. Security situation is local. And part of the problem that we have is that, apart from the fact that the federal police is stretched, they don't have the knowledge of where they are policing. And you see, instead of governors, when you look at a state like Lagos, they spend a lot of money providing logistics for a federal police that they don't control. If what we spend, if Lagos State, what Lagos State spend on IRS, for example, they create a police, a state police, that has IRS as a rapid response force within that police, it will not only bring crime down, it will go a long way in providing security for everybody. I can understand the fact that yes, it could be misused, but you see, Nigeria has come a long way from the native police authority people. We have come a long way from that. It's the same country, the same politicians in the First Republic who do not even allow democracy to survive. We conducted an election where a sitting president was defeated and he handed over to an opposition leader. So we've come a long way. I know that yes, it's possible that the governors could misuse it, but we must not look. We look at the positive and negative aspect of and the positive things outweigh the negative, because the only thing is misuse of power. But the costs are there. The society, we are more enlightened that there's limits to what a governor can do. The costs are there to check some. But you see, when you now look at what we can achieve in terms of security, it outweighs not having state police. For example, in Plateau, if there are state police there, it will be able to help, because part of the problem is that the federal police, most times, it's soldiers that are doing the duty of regular policemen. Yeah. In most parts of the north where we have crisis, we have to drive the soldiers there. But if every state has police, there will be community policing. They will understand the people there. If you look at crime, for example, if there's a crime in a place, it's not rocket science. What police, most times, what they do is that in every community, there are people who are involved in crime. The police know them. Yeah. And you see crime, you cannot commit crime alone. If you want to get involved in crime, you must have a gang or you must have a group. You cannot do it alone. So what they just need to do is to go to those people to say, look, there was a robbery yesterday in Mushi. Who did it? They will say, oh, it's not our gang. It's from people from Ikeja. Or it's one Musbah from somewhere. You understand? And they will go there and they will go to that place and they will be able to say, oh, it's not us. Musbah is in one traditional healing house trying to remove the pillars and all that. Yeah. And they will go there and pick him and they will tell them about that thing. Because you cannot, if you go to a community and you want to commit crime, there is a tendency that you will not succeed. So it's the same thing for policemen. If you have policemen who are conversant, who are from that particular neighborhood, they will be able to fight crime better than somebody who sits in Abuja and is fighting crime in Bayelsa or in Lagos.
All right, Yinka, are we matured enough for state police in dealing with situations like this?
I believe we're on the way to it. The argument that has been laid forth by Jide is very beautiful. Anyone who knows Nigeria's history will be familiar with that. But 58 years, more than half a century after independence, are we still going to say that we are still in the same place? We are not going to say because Mr. A traveled by bus, he had an accident. Therefore, we are going to resort to riding donkeys. Because mistakes have been made in the past, we must learn from the mistake. And when we talk of state police, don't let us think that state police will only mean it is only the indigents of the state that will be members of the police force there. If what we have as an idea of state police is the state civil service in Lagos here is not only by Lagosians, neither is it only by Yoruba or Igbos or by Yorubas alone. So the state police will comprise of people who live in the place. As we were discussing before the program started, I was born in the north. Assuming I wanted to join the police, I would join the police right there in the north, in Jos Plateau State specifically. I will not come to Lagos to join the state police in Lagos. One, I speak Hausa, and I know all the periphery of the city. So when we talk of state police, it is not that it is open to abuse, which is true. Is the federal police not open to abuse? Correct. In fact, a lot of it, we have a lot of it. And the states, as much as the state governors fund most of the federal police, they don't have anything. They cannot tell the police commissioner that, oh, there's a riot in Mushin, please go there and quell it. The man will say, okay, out of courtesy, he will say, yes, sir. But he will, first of all, call the Inspector General of Police to get a clearance. So what then are we talking about? But if we have a state police, the governor can as well call him and say, look, there's trouble in this place. Please, go and clear it up. And wherever there is trouble, as he said, there must be local connivance. So people who are there will know. Assuming, this figure is frightening. And if they tell you we have 1,800 and something, you must be sure it's up to 2,000. So what are we? It is only in Nigeria. We have been talking about this every day, every time, and it's getting annoying. It is only in Nigeria that such things don't move people. 1,000+ people died in how many years? In how many months? In France, I made that example not too long ago. A journalist was killed in the Bordeaux, whatever, that the journalist who did the cartoon.
Yes.
They went to one mad guy went to the newsroom and shot this guy and some others.
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened? Almost all presidents from around the world gathered in France.
Yes.
But here we have 1,800 and something. And we are all sitting pretty, nobody is talking about it. Life has become so cheap. If state police is what is going to solve this problem, I think it's high time we have it. It is becoming embarrassing. When one person died in the US and we all change our DP and say this, but thousands of them are dying here at home. We all go about our duties as if nothing is happening. It is frightening.
All right, as frightening as it is, Jide, the committee set up that came up with these figures is suggesting that a four-phase strategy with a proper security arrangement to avoid further attacks on the communities, as well as also suggesting that there has to be a victim support program to be initiated to reduce the suffering of the people. Now, relocating these people or taking them back to their ancestral homes, how do you see this working? First phase strategy, but because the government is saying that the people have to exercise some patience. How much longer do the people have to wait? What do you see the government doing to really address this issue?
Well, there is nothing wrong in relocating people back to their ancestral homes, but you must first take care of the security of those areas before sending people back home. You must, according to the report, there are 78 communities that have been taken over and annexed by Fulani headsmen. You've had that before, it's been denied, but here Vice Marshal Baladam Baba Committee saying there are 78 communities, that farmlands annexed. So how do you, the people who have taken over other people's communities, how do you get them to relinquish those communities so that the true owners of those communities can go back there? Then, of course, about 118 Fulani communities too, or 98 Fulani communities have also been destroyed by their rivals in this conflict. How do we get the people who have taken over those Fulani communities to leave those communities and then ensure that there is peace? Look, community policing or even state police is not the silver bullet that will end killings in Nigeria. No. The people must agree to work together. The people must agree that they want to live in peace. That is the only way lasting peace can be guaranteed. You can flood the area with soldiers and policemen. We see it happen. But it will not in itself, where people harbor deep animosities against one another. Remember what happened in 2012 when that senator and the lawmaker representing from the House of Assembly in Plateau State were killed just at a point when they were attending the funeral of people killed the day before. Yes. The same gunmen came to the burial site and opened fire. Do you think such killings are easily forgotten? How did terrorism grow in the Middle East? It's because some people felt the need to avenge the killing of their relations and all that. So where people choose not to want to forgive one another, you can flood their communities with policemen. Any day, policemen and soldiers, or the miracle state police, any day that they have the opportunity to go and kill, they will go and kill. That is why the people must agree to live together. I'm impressed by the way people in the Mambila Plateau decided that, look, we killed ourselves. They killed more than 200 individuals, although some people went to town saying about 700 or 800 were killed. About 200 plus killed in the end. But the people came together and said, why were we even killing ourselves? They called a meeting, and the leader said, what's wrong with us? We've lived together for hundreds of years. Why have we chosen to kill ourselves? What have we gained killing ourselves? Today, more than a year after the killings in the Mambila, one of the most beautiful places to go to in Nigeria, there is peace. Everyone is happy. I was happy to go back there in December last year. If there wasn't peace, I would not have gone back. And I'm going back there again in December this year.
Make sure there is peace before you go back.
I'm going back. There is peace. When I went there in December, there was peace. It was because there was peace that I went there. I'm going back there again in December this year because I can feel that there is peace. The people have agreed that it makes no sense to be killing each other as like animals. And that is what has to happen in Plateau. They must agree to come together. There must be genuine forgiveness across board. All this talk that, oh, if you kill someone, a native was also, there's 400 years ago, they must avenge. No, that's not the way God created us. Even the God that we serve is a God that forgives. So if we are saying that God created us in his own image, why is it difficult for us to forgive one another?
All right. From what Jide said, 78 communities harnessed by herdsmen, and then some youth protested, I think yesterday or so, saying that they didn't, the state government did not implement the anti-open grazing bill because it is not, this shows that they are not looking at the interest of the people. Would this have also checked the activities of, or stemmed the tide of all of this that is happening in the state?
Yeah, I think so, but I want to align myself with what Jide said. The problem basically has to do with the fact that we look at effects of problems. We don't look at the causes of those problems. And like you said, we have to find a way, because I believe that it is politicians, no, let me not use politicians, but people. There are some people who manipulate this crisis most of the time.
All right, we'll come to that, but we need to quickly take this call from Derek calling from Kaduna. Welcome to the show, and go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, Derek from Kaduna. I want to align myself with what Uncle Jide has said. You see, until we learn to live in peace, no amount of armed men can solve the problem. It is rather unfortunate that we have turned ourselves to be what we are in Nigeria. I have lived all my life in the north. Before the late 80s, it was not like this. But suddenly things just went wrong. So we must learn to look at the fundamental and actually, so yes, we are right for state police. But if the fundamental is not addressed, no amount of state police can solve that problem. So we must first and foremost look inward before we start talking of state police. Please, Nigeria, it is high time that we stop killing ourselves and let peace reign. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yes.
but like I was saying, I believe that we've always lived together. It's because some people who will benefit from such crises that try to divide us. Like what happened in Mambila Plateau, if you remember, in Delta State at a time, there was this bitter war between the Jaws, the Robos, and the Shakiris. And they were killing themselves almost every day. And eventually they sat down together and realized that there is no need for us for this war, because it was, in fact, at a time, they were moving OPC members from Lagos to go and support the Shakiris in Delta then. But some people now felt, look, we have to sit down and solve this problem. We are the same. Why are we fighting each other? And there is relative peace there now. And that is, yes, that's
At least those killings have ended.
Yes, those killings have ended. So we have to put that in play too. I agree with him that he said, look, the government must be able to find people of standing within that communities who can convince the two parties to see themselves as one. That is when they can even willingly relinquish all these communities that be appropriated. If not, it's just postponing the doomsday, because the government cannot use force to move to take from those who have already settled there and relocated them somewhere else. It must be negotiated, especially when it affected both parties. So it has to be negotiated, and that is the way to go.
All right, Olayinka.
I think it's simply a case of contestation for space. A case of my religion is better than yours, or my ethnic group is better than yours. As I said earlier on, I grew up in the North. I have uncles, aunties, and so on who are Muslims, and we are Christians. When it is Christmas time, my father, my mother will be the one to tell you that, have you gone to Uncle Shitu's house to go and eat salaram? And when it is Christmas, Uncle Shitu will call his children, have you gone to Baba or Igbile's house to go and eat chicken? But now, we are all protecting our own. I don't want my son to go and mix with a Muslim because he might be converted or marry a Muslim. All these things, is God a Christian or a Muslim?
And that Plateau state where you grew up,
yes,
it used to be a thing of joy for us to visit that
exactly.
state. During the Abacha years, when they wanted to kill me and other people, I went to Jos in 1995.
I remember.
I went there just to hide.
To hide?
And I was hiding there in Bola and Faleke's house for months. I enjoyed the weather, you know.
At
that time there was peace.
In fact, the word home of tourism, peace and tourism, is not out of place. You know, as we have Lagos as center of excellence, Plateau's own is home of peace and tourism. But that has been fractured.
And indigenous settlership issue.
It doesn't used to be like that until we see ourselves. I'm a Christian. My brother is a Muslim. We are not in any contest. He is a Muslim because that's the faith he wants to be. I am a Christian because that's the faith I want to be. So why should we continue to kill each other? Any of those religions, is there anyone that says that you must kill?
More than 100 ethnic groups in Adamawa State.
And
more than 100 ethnic groups in Adamawa State. So what will those ones do? What will those ones do? If they have to take up arms against one another, there will be no Adamawa State anymore.
Left.
All right, now let's quickly move forward. When we return, Obasanjo accuses state governors of stealing funds through joint accounts operated by two tiers of governments. Stay with us. Local government administration is designed to be the closest to the people. But decades of weakened federalism means local governments in Nigeria are endangered. Perhaps in some states, they are virtually non-existent. On Monday, former President Olusegun Obasanjo blamed the development on state governors. He lamented that only 9 out of the 36 states have so far supported the local government autonomy bill passed by the National Assembly. Obasanjo added that state governors opposed to the bill are using joint accounts operated by the two tiers of government to siphon local government money and render them useless. What are your thoughts? Now, there are reactions that have trailed former president's statement. Some have said that he denied Lagos local government of allocation for 3 years. So why is he making such a statement? He was in power. Why didn't he implement all of this that he is saying? But Jide, what are your thoughts?
See, that's how ridiculous we can be in Nigeria. Someone says the truth, you go back to what happened in the past as a way of covering up the truth that he has said. The truth is, Obasanjo by himself could not have imposed local government autonomy on the country. It has to go around the states. He couldn't, as a president, by fiat, have instituted a local government autonomy. It still has to be what a preponderance of Nigerian states want before it can happen. After all, Obasanjo during his time was overruled a few times, even by the Senate. Some of his actions were vetoed by the Senate, as powerful as many people recall that he was as a president. But the truth is, we should not always focus on the messenger, but his message. On this score, Obasanjo has a very good message. And even as I criticize him almost routinely. I will not criticize him on this. I would rather praise him for saying the right thing at the right time. That is the way to go. The Bayelsa state governor was praised by a Senate committee that went to his state for one reason, because once the funds of the local governments come, Governor Dixon does not touch the funds. And that's the way it should be. Why should Obasanjo is saying that why should state governors who enjoy autonomy from the federal government, because the federal government does not touch their own funds, why should they be opposed to the autonomy for local councils? Why? These are the same governors. Once a governor comes into office, the first thing he does is to dissolve local government councils so that elections can hold, or in some cases, some ridiculous governors would not even allow elections to take place. They would rather put sole administrators in those councils. That cannot be the right thing to do. So we have to do what is right. Let local governments enjoy their autonomy. I'm happy that at last we are going to remove this whole idea of SIEC, State Independent Electoral Commission, when they are everything but independent. We are going to remove them from the apron strings of governors so that local government, INEC can organize elections at that level. Yeah. We will now know if the opposition is strong in a state and capable of winning 8 out of 20 local government. So be it. Not a situation in which the ruling party in every state must win all the local government chairmanship seats. So what Obasanjo has said, there's nothing wrong about it. In fact, it's a shame that there are just 9 states so far who have signed up to the autonomy idea. It shows that they are not interested yet in letting the local governments run their own affairs. I'm telling you, things like primary health care should be fully handled by local government. You still
primary schools.
Primary schools, even inner city roads.
Yes.
Inner city roads should be handled by them. But what do you hear? A governor will say, oh, I'm building 250 inner city roads. He's taking funds from local councils and using those funds to build. A friend of mine, when I was in the news, had an uncle who was a local government chairman. Once they did this, their funny Jack meeting, joint account committee meeting, the governor by fiat will say, you, this is what you get this month.
Fine.
You, this is what you get this month. He looks at mayor and says, mayor, okay, this is what you get. And if you dare argue, and he's going to give mayor something small. And if you dare argue with him, he will plot your removal by your councillors. We will see governors instigate a removal of local government chairmen, and they will move from there and get the assemblies that are usually in their pocket. You'll get the assembly to rubber stamp the removal of the chairman. You see, sometimes if a local government chairman belongs to the opposition, a governor will suspend that chairman. Yeah. Somebody elected. You just have no right. Elected just like you. You have no right to suspend him. These are the issues. So it doesn't matter who said it. Whether Obasanjo had offended us in the past by some of his actions or not well thought out statements. It does not matter. On this score, he hit the bullseye, and I will support him.
Okay, yes, I agree that most governors appropriate the money that's supposed to go to the local government. But the problem has to do with this emperor mentality of our leaders. And that was what people were saying, that the president is also involved in that. You will see a president, especially during the time of Obasanjo, trying to go to states and determine whether a governor should remain as governor or that. Or that these states cannot decide what they want to do about their own local government, and they will now seize the funds. It is the emperor mentality of our leaders. I'm not saying, I know.
Let's focus on
I'm saying that I agree with you.
But all things cast long shadow.
The thing is, even what happened at that time.
What I'm saying is that
he was sitting down on the matter of there are 778 local governments, 774 local governments, and these local governments are not known to law, which is right.
Which is right, yes.
But the action he took was wrong.
illegal.
Yeah.
So he sat on something.
Oh,
But
no,
that
no,
is
no.
gone.
Forget about what
I'm not even
sat on.
The issue is it right for these governors to
All right,
do
he's
what they are
trying to
doing?
focus on
I'm not
the
discussing
message.
that. What I'm
Let's
saying
focus on
is
the
He's trying to
message.
focus
it's
on
the
the
emperor
message.
mentality that we have
Yeah.
that makes our leaders to do that. And part of the problem is that we claim we are practicing federalism, but it is the unitary system of government that we are practicing. And it has to do with the hangover of the military. Because of the military, because they depend on central command, you understand? So they have no choice. They have to give orders. And we are still doing that. Instead of, we are deluding ourselves that we are doing federal, because most governors...
pushing for this autonomy.
Autonomy, yes.
But governors, civilian, those who don't have military background, they are the ones not letting it work.
You know why? Because a lot of governors just believe, you see, because they take our people for granted, or they take people that they're supposed to govern over for granted, they just believe that, look, I need this money. I will determine what should be done in this local government. I'm the governor of the state. It's my state.
What they will not allow the federal to do to
what
them.
they will not allow the federal to do to them. That's what I'm saying, that is this simple thing that everybody just believe that I can do whatever I like.
Right.
So when the money comes, in fact, in some states, especially in some part of the country, when they bring the so-called jack, they just share it and go home.
And go home.
They don't do anything in the local government at all. Apart from pay salaries and all that, they just go home. They just believe that it's time. And that is why, if you look at most local government, they don't do anything.
Yes.
Even now, because...
governors are likely to blame for
Yes, the
that.
governors are likely to blame for that, because by the time the governor has denied them money, the little money that comes, by the time they pay salaries, they will just appropriate the others
I
for
said the
themselves.
council chairman burst into tears. My friend, his uncle.
All right.
You know
yes,
the
yes, yes.
solution.
Okay.
If the local government is so armstrong, if we have people who have their heads in the right place, if there is time to contest for this election, if people don't come out to contest, we will know there's something wrong. But some people will come out to contest, even though they know there's nothing there. So they say, well, when we get there, we'll manage what we have. And that's the problem.
It's not as if there's nothing there. There's
There's
something
something
there.
there.
There's something there.
there.
It may not be enough.
Exactly. So why...
Even the one that's not even
as
in
long
love,
as
they
you
are
have
the local government chairmen themselves. Because we know, because we will pass through some inner cities, and there will be maybe potholes and all
I
that.
pointed
Now,
one out
that you
recently.
cannot take the chairman of that
They don't
local
give them-
government.
What
simply
can
to just
happen,
fill it up.
what Buhari postulated was for us to have autonomy for the local government, and for their money to be sent directly to them.
Directly to them.
Take them
That's the best
off the
thing.
control of
That's
these
the best
governors.
The money should go directly
That's
to
the
them
best thing.
instead of.
But you know,
this,
governors
jack
who
thing.
oppose this, governors will bribe assemblymen
assembly
so
members.
that this thing does not get
That
passed.
is where the problem
They
is.
need the money.
Because that has to do with the govt federalism in our politics. Because even the state assembly, they did not vote for their own autonomy.
All right.
State assembly.
Those governors are working,
Because the governors
working on
didn't agree,
them.
yes.
In
All
fact,
right.
that's the...
Governors are working on them.
That's a
It's
very
a really
funny
dire
one.
situation, but then we need to move forward. Now, a Chinese statesman and reformer Mao Zedong once said, quote, "Politics is war without bloodshed, while war is politics with bloodshed," end quote. In Nigeria, the camps of the two main presidential candidates have been engaged in one political battle or another to get support ahead of the 2019 elections. This latest war of words borders on the search of a private plane belonging to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar on arrival from a trip to Dubai on Sunday. While Atiku campaign organization alleged that the search was premeditated and ordered by President Muhammadu Buhari, aviation authorities said only the president is exempted from security search. This came as the presidency also deflated any links to the president. Is this not a sign of what more to come in this war without bloodshed, Olainka?
Honestly, I think, as I said here some time ago, the more things change, the more they remain the same. I want us to look at this dispassionately. 2014, 2015, when the then candidate, Muhammadu Buhari, was the candidate of the APC, he traveled abroad and he came back. Was he searched? I don't think so.
That's even after Chatham House, have you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, You promised that we are going to bring change. And a presidential candidate came in. Even if you are going to do the search, I think the way it was done was wrong. And the way they are defending it is making it more complicated.
How?
What is the business of the Minister of State for Aviation in searches at the airport? It is not his business. It is the business of the immigration chief, not even the immigration controller general of immigration. It is the immigration chief of the airport that should be talking, and the custom boss at the airport, not even the controller general of customs. It is only when that has gone beyond the purview, or maybe the explanations those ones have given are not enough, that their bosses should come in. It should not be the business of the Minister of State for Aviation, because what clearly has been done there, it has been politicized. And it is very unfortunate. In everything we do, we must be very, very fair and good to everyone, so that even the person involved will look at it at a sober moment and say, even if you are the one who ordered it, the man will feel that, oh, I'm sure if so person had known about it, he would not have allowed it. But in this situation, you have made the issue so political that those who think Atiku was doing what was wrong will be made to even have a feel for him. It's like he will now be like a victim. And that was exactly what worked in favor of APC in 2015. You remember the APC office that was invaded in Allen Avenue and all the rest of it. All these kind of things, people must begin to think. Before you act, or when you act, you must think, what are the ricochet effects that it is going to have? I think it is clearly unfair. I'm not a supporter of Atiku, but I'm a journalist. And as a journalist, we must be fair to everyone. If the presidency does what is right, we are going to praise it. But when they do something that is blatantly wrong, we must be bold to tell them to their face that, no, you dropped the ball.
All right, Judy, from what Yinka has said, politicized, and this was blatantly wrong. Do you share the same sentiment?
Yeah, you see, what happened reminds me of what happened to Awolowo during the Buhari regime. And I've always suggested to the president that he has to be careful of the antics of fifth columnists. Fifth columnists went to Awolowo's house, overturned his library. All that they wanted to do was to show that the government at that time was to make the government of that time remain in a climate of hate, to turn the people of the Southwest against the government of that time. So that, because the people of the Southwest control the press in Nigeria, the popular Lagos Ibadan press at that time. So that by the time they now plan their coup, they will get substantial support. Buhari, when we interviewed Buhari at the news, he said he never ordered the search of Awolowo's house. That decision was taken, they didn't tell him. It's even possible that even this one, the extent that they have gone with the search of Atiku's jet, possible that the president was not even aware. Because this is just like history repeating itself. And then the question to ask is this routine? They said it's routine.
Yeah.
If it was routine, was there any time Atiku complained about it, that it was searched? If you said it's routine, what is different about this one? Is it that you deployed far more men than necessary? Because there's no big deal in searching an airplane. But if you deploy far more men than necessary, and they spend far more time than necessary on the act, he will begin to see it as an act of intimidation. That's exactly how he is looking at it. Yeah. And then he pointed to a statement that was, he claimed was issued on November 5,
by the
APC, where it was suggested that they should search the jet in case they are bringing in illicit money with which to buy the votes of our people. Yes. So is the Yorubas will say Ajekela na Omokulone. So when that kind of thing happens, he is bound to think that, oh, even if that was not the intention, he's bound to think, oh, this was premeditated, they did it to embarrass me, this and that. We should be, if it is the norm to search planes, then everyone who has a private jet should be subjected to the same search, whether they are in APCO or they are in ABGA or they are in moribund party somewhere, you know, or even Ganifa Women's Party, NCP. They should all be searched. The moment you don't subject everyone to the kind of thorough search that you visited on Atiku's jet, they will start thinking it's political. And before you know, they will shout and tell the whole world that, oh, they don't want us to win. They are trying to rig the election. Oh, the government is muzzling the opposition, this and that. This government can save itself a lot of embarrassment. I've seen things, I've had things said about this government, I mean, by people in this government that naturally they should have buttoned up their mouths and not say. Because we are in position to tell them what is wrong. That is our own duty. And we are doing it for the sake of our country. Tomorrow, when we complain that, oh, certain court rulings are not being obeyed, it's because the shoe could be on the other foot next time. You are in power today, you could fall into opposition tomorrow. So let's do what is right. Atiku or anybody can be searched. But the manner in which it's conducted itself, the manner, if it's conducted in a Gestapo manner, then they will say, oh, it's because it is me. And that's not what you want to hear at a time like this. Because people, they will say, oh, they are trying to use the levers of power to oppress the opposition and all that. And I don't think that's what anyone wants. Remember Buhari, this same Buhari, the president, when the IG, who has a history of making this kind of blunders, when he withdrew the policeman guiding the governor of Anambra. Buhari was very angry and he ordered him to immediately send them back.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe even this one, the president was not aware.
All right, quickly, let's take this call from Tony calling from South Africa. Welcome to the program. Go ahead with your contribution.
Call him.
Tony? Tony, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, good. I just want to ask a question. Whatever happens in Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I would just want to ask a question, Jide, and the other members.
Go on. Don't listen to yourself. Just keep talking. You are listening to yourself. Just keep talking.
Tony,
okay, it seems that Buhari does not know anything that happened.
Is that your question? Okay, Tony, make your points clear because we need to move forward.
Buhari does not know whatever happens. Whatever happens, we say, oh, maybe Buhari does not know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tony, for your contribution.
He may not approve of some things because it's overruled. Look at even the case in Osun. On the eve of the election, they summoned the candidate of the PDP. Yes. Again, the president said, no, you can't do it.
Yes. But to me, what happened was petty and shameful. You know why?
On whose part?
Government claimed that it was routine. It was never routine. Why? it is obvious. We all know that Atiku has a private jet.
And he travels
He
a
must
lot.
have traveled several times without private jet. Now, because he's now a candidate, a presidential candidate, and he went for a retreat in Dubai. And
Which
then-
they all go for.
Which
strategy
is
session.
legal, a strategy session, which is legal. Coming back, and you now deploy whatever you did that would have made him to complain, you cannot justify it that it is routine. Because what is routine is what you do normally. So you must have done it to him without his private jet several times. So if you do another search that is different from what you used to do, it is not routine.
So does this justify the statement by the campaign, Atiku's campaign, that this statement was just an afterthought?
I believe so. I agree that the statement from the Minister of State for Aviation is an afterthought.
I agree with Toyegbile that it shouldn't even
have
have.
entered the fray at all.
If it was the civil servants responding and saying, no, we're just doing our job.
Yeah.
You see,
That is understandable.
these guys don't understand strategy. If they are good at managing public perception, some of the things that they do, they will not be doing. Because you could just have told, you could easily just have told the man in charge of security
At the airport.
to go and to answer that.
Exactly.
Look, this is what we do. This is our job. And it fits into international best practice.
You can even apologize that, okay, if our boys overdid it, we are sorry. Next time-
It will have ended there.
It would have ended.
there.
But the
But when
minister-
politicians start
Exactly.
getting involved and saying this and saying that,
Then it's been politicized.
Yes,
because
that's the way
some
they'll see it.
persons are raising concerns that this is using the state's, powers to kind of oppress.
We move
politically.
beyond that. That's what we are telling them.
Yes.
Our democracy is evolving. They should allow us to continue to move forward. Because if you embarrass a presidential candidate, it does not determine whether he was
former
going to
vice
win or
president.
lose. It does not determine whether he's going to win or lose the election. So you don't need to do that.
no, it will not even cast him
It doesn't-
negatively.
yes, it
It
doesn't-
won't cast
yes.
him negatively in the sight of people.
Exactly.
If you are not careful,
It's
it
like
will
a
even earn
victim
him.
now.
It will earn him
Yes.
more support.
Exactly.
More support, yes.
That's why I
what
made
it
the
is.
example
You know
of the
Nigerians-
invasion of the
Sentiments.
APC secretariat
Yeah.
or this thing that
Nigerians even like to
back.
back the underdog,
Underdog,
yes.
or the oppressed. So before you know it, you're actually making that person more
Whipping
popular.
up sentiments. But then, does this set any pace for the elections or what we should expect moving forward?
Well, I hope the government has learned from this. If before now they thought what they did is right, with the backlash now, I'm sure they must have learned one or two things, and they must be careful. They must study the situation before they act. It is not every event or everything that the minister or a politician must talk. Anything that concerns the civil service, let the most senior person there say what, even if you are the one coaching him or her to say what to say, but don't come out to say this is what happened. You politicize it.
And they are showing picture of Amechi stretching his arm being freezed. It's different from what we are talking about.
They are
Absolutely
different.
different.
They are different. Absolutely.
So your final thoughts, because we're
My final
out
thought
of-
is that as we approach the election in 2019, we want everybody to play by the rules. We need to
don't heat up the polity.
Yeah, we don't need to heat up the polity. And the president should also try to be, like he said, should try to be on top of things, because people will do things in
To
his
embarrass
name
him.
that he's
Exactly.
not aware of.
There are enemies around him. He has to
Yes.
know.
Of course.
So people
It
will do
happened during
things-
his first time.
Yes,
when he
people will
was
do
military
things in his
president,
government that he's
they
not
did it to
aware
him.
of. So he should try to be on top of
He
things.
has to, the people who are embarrassing him, he has to be careful with them. He's taking actions in the past that you see clearly that some of these things were not instigated by him or were not even approved by him. So those mistakes, they need to cut out those mistakes, like the DSS invading the National Assembly. I mean,
yeah, it was
even
stupid.
some ambassadors of some countries in Nigeria were thoroughly embarrassed at what's going on. You know, these things shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening at all.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your contributions on the topics so far. We need to move on now. That's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Veronica Dani. Boy, bye for now. God bless Nigeria.